Back with another Notebook episode. Me and the boys will be back soon. We talked last time about how Elly De La Cruz turned down the deal from the Reds. They try to kind of extend him now, kind of the timing with all of the Dodgers stuff. And like, there's all this like discourse about like team's commitment to win, this, that, and the third. Whatever. I did want to play this. Jim Bowden was on Foul Territory talking a little bit about Elly De La Cruz and what needs to happen, I guess. And whenever I hear stuff like this, it's like, okay, like, is he getting this from the agent side or from the team side? So, I mean, obviously, like Elly said that he's going to let his agent handle it and turn on the first extension. But he's a guy that obviously is going to get a really big payday, but never going to be the best shortstop in the game, which I think is so fascinating. But we'll just play this.
What's the deal with the Elly extension?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Nick Krall and the Reds did the right thing by offering him over $250 million and said, look, we want you here. We want you to spend your career in Cincinnati. I think you have to try to make that effort, whether it works or doesn't work. When you're represented by the Boras Corporation and you're a position player and you're young and you have analysts telling people that he has the talent to be.
I don't know what it is about it, but like $250 million just sounds naturally like more money than $250 million. Or maybe that's just me. But obviously that was turned down pretty quickly, and that would have made him the highest paid player in like Reds history. And you know, obviously when that report comes out from the Athletic, it's like, oh, like Dodgers incoming.
Be a future Hall of Famer. Really tough to do a long-term deal because Scott Boras' long history is he will beat it on the open market. And I know when the Nationals offered Juan Soto $450 million, he turned it down and everybody laughed. And he ended up 3 years later getting $765 million. So he made an extra $365 million by saying no. Elly De La Cruz is going to do the same thing. So I understand it. And, you know, it's pretty painful for a small market team like Cincinnati. I think for them to have a chance to sign him right now, you have to probably start the conversation at $350 million.
And I guess that's where I want to stop real quick and like talk about the markets, because like, you know, Bobby Witt and him are kind of in that same age group. Bobby Witt signed the extension that was 11 years, $288, and he's got, I believe, 3 or 4 straight years of like player opt-outs, so he can like cash in when he wants. It's just crazy how much the market is changing, and I think obviously Bobby Witt's a better player than Elly De La Cruz, but like everybody knows the Reds are not going to, or might not even have the money to offer $350, and it feels like Scott's going to say no to that as well. And then it's like, what's the next shortstop market going to even look like?
To start the conversation to get it serious, I'm not sure Cincinnati is going to do that.
Now, on the flip side, it's like, if you're Cincinnati, did you offer him $250 knowing he would 100% decline it? But look, I can show my fan base that, hey, we offered Elly.
In the marketplace. So, again, this is a talented kid. He hasn't reached his potential yet. We keep waiting for that breakout year, which I think may happen as soon as this year. It's going to be fun to watch.
That's also good agenting by Scott Boras, because if he does have a breakout year, which he has all the tools for, like he'll be worth north of 400, I think. I mean, with those traits, the power potential, I don't know, switch it, like just like checks every box. Like he's like tall, hyper athletic Jose Ramirez, but plays short, you know.
But keep in mind, it's going to be very, very difficult for the Reds in this marketplace when you're seeing the kind of contracts. Kyle Tucker gets $60 million a year. Bo Bichette gets $47 million a year. Shohei Ohtani gets $70 million a year. It's really hard to try to do these deals like the Braves did once with Ronald Acuna Jr. because these young superstars seeing this kind of money out there, it just doesn't make sense to give up the kind of hundreds of millions you'll be giving up.
I think in the new market world, I saw this next tweet from Nick Gonzalez. Nick Gonzalez's mustache. The seams are starting to show. Elly's agent whispering in his ear he can get $400 million. LA, New York, Toronto, or Boston. Small market teams need to be able to retain talent they develop. Honestly, like in the information era, what this is like if you are a team, you almost have to gamble early with a player, like so early, and offer them something that like it's like a buy low, sell high kind of deal, right? Like Boston, Christian Campbell, Roman Anthony, like get those done early. Like if you are, you know, the A's, you work to get Soderstrom and Nick Kurtz done super, super quickly. You almost want to get them before the breakout. You almost have to feel the breakout and go before then. Even Bobby Witt, the 11 years, 288, feels like such a great deal now. Like you almost have to go so early. Jackson Merrill, who I would argue, you know, 1 year of good play, like get it done. Like, and we're not used to seeing teams do that, but like but smaller, mid-tier, smaller market teams are going to have to start gambling more and more and more if they want to keep guys to expand their, I guess, window to build. And it's funny because it's like we really don't see the Yankees do stuff like that. But you're going to start to need to see more and more and more of that from the young, from teams that have the very, very clear and obvious limitations. Like if you're the Reds, you can't wait till after the kid's on the cover of, MLB The Show to go offer him that contract. He's already like smelling and sensing the superstar money coming. And so you could argue that they did go too late. But going too early, you can end up paying a kid who ends up not being very good a good amount of money, and that, I guess, is kind of one of the scary things operationally. But we did see it with the Braves as well. So that needs to be kind of the new meta. Like that's how the Guardians, the Reds, the Pirates. That's how they're all going to be able to try to compete with the big dogs, is by delaying some of the, I guess, big free agent hunting, or you're going to get the case where you keep these guys in the minors for so long, cooking and developing, knowing that when you pull them up, you want them to be 26 years old and like already in their prime, so you can get them for their prime years rather than sending them off to free agency in their prime years, if that makes sense. Okay, this is Framber Valdez, boding some more on the foul territory, which I don't like Framber. I think Framber offers. I worry about Framber's personality type in certain places. Obviously, this year was a funky one for him, but he, I believe, is the best pitcher that's currently available, and teams that want pitchers really aren't linked to him, which is fascinating, but not because of the stuff, but because of the other stuff. So, curious. When free agency started, they were looking for a 6 or 7 year deal. He's not going to get that. He might have to settle for a short-term high AAV deal.
Public going on with Framber Valdez. How is he still out there, and where do you see a landing spot for him?
Yeah, I think Octagon has done a really good job of keeping the negotiations of Valdez quiet, nothing leaking. I actually like it. I think it's good for Framber, to be honest. The reason he's still out there is I think when free agency started, they were looking for a 6 or 7 year deal for him. He's not going to get that. He's 32 years old. I'm not sure he's going to get year 5. I think he will.
What a list. Guys that are left. Luis Arraez, batting champion, born 2 decades too late. Giolito. I wonder what his medicals look like. Zach Gallen, Suarez, Bellinger, Framber.
Get 4 years. But, the offers haven't been there like expected. And so when those long-term deals aren't there, the agents these days have to take a deep breath and then figure out, okay, how short of a deal can I get? What do the opt-out clauses look like? Am I okay doing a 2-year deal, opting out and going back in the market next year when I'm not tied to draft pick compensation?
We are seeing teams kind of go away from the longer contracts as well, especially for pitchers. And like a 6 or 7 year deal for Valdez feels to me like it was always going to be a bit of a stretch. Maybe I'm just a hater.
You've got to be creative and try to figure out the best way to handle this. Now, I know the Orioles have been in on Framber Valdez the whole time. I've heard the Mets had interest if it was a shorter term deal. Not sure if Framber is there yet. But besides that, I've not heard Framber's name connected. I think the Giants should be all over him, but I've heard they're not because they don't want to spend that kind of money towards pitching. So, besides that, I can't tell you. I still think the best spot for him right now is the Orioles or the Mets. I think both teams need him if they want us to cover that team in October, either one of them.
What's hurting his market more? The draft pick compensation? Because I felt like that was, more the $50-60 million range, and he's clearly a 9-figure type of pitcher. Or is it the fact that a guy like Freddie Peralta, who everybody probably views as a better pitcher than
Freddie Peralta's kind of the hang up right now. Gotta be the hang up.
him right now, is still,
especially like if you think the Mets are interested,
technically out there.
Yeah, I think everything factors in, right? I think being 32 years old factors in. I think there are some analytic groups that don't like the hard hit rate against Framber, although it's mostly ground balls, and it doesn't worry me as long as you have a really good defensive infield. I think some people are looking at him and saying, he used to be a 1, now he's a 2. And so I want to pay 2 prices, not 1 price. So I think all of those things kind of factor in. What are the other options that are out there on the market? That being said, he's a difference maker. I think he could take a pretender and make them into a contender. So I think he'll find a home, but I think we're going to find out it's going to be one of those shorter term, high AAV with opt-outs.
Yeah, curious to see where he ends up. Haven't really seen too much on it, but it was just definitely curious. I did see this. Obviously, like, this is kind of what he'll be remembered for this last year. I mean, this against the Yankees, Trent Grisham takes him deep. Wouldn't step off. He asked him to step off, right? Step off, step off, step off. I will not step off. Go. Boom. I think it was a grand slam, too. Yeah, he had a grand slam. And the very next pitch crosses up. And the craziest thing about this was Volpe taking 93 dead center and knowing what happened right afterwards. Like, the intentional cross up is what people suspect. And it's not even a story. Volpe just swings. Volpe can't believe it. Frustration, 100%. But the antics, man, said he fumbled the bag. Also, like, that pitch was like middle, right? 93. Ooh, Volpe could have went back-to-back home runs. All right. I saw this, dude, and I don't even like to give his tweets a ton of attention because it's borderline insane to me. Like, I don't know what causes it. But this tweet, the Los Angeles Dodgers are not bad for baseball. The teams that do the opposite are. And here we go. Just real quick, when you get engaged in a debate with someone about baseball, and it's going to be uncomfortable, generally speaking, especially like just or any kind of debate. When someone says one thing isn't great for something or even is bad for something, it doesn't mean that there's nothing else that also isn't bad for that one thing, right? It's like if I open up my cabinet and I'm like, oh, like I asked my friend, hey, do you want a soda? And my friend's like, no, that's bad for you. I don't want a soda. And I'm like, well, you know what's really bad for you? The Little Debbie cake's in here too. That's what's actually bad for you. It's like, okay, no, they can both be bad for you. And I think that is where I think a lot of Dodgers fans and people who cover the Dodgers and Dodgers social media, I think, get a little bit confused. This is from Ben Verlander, one of the great gobblers. The Los Angeles Dodgers are not bad for baseball. The teams that do the opposite are. And before people yell, not everyone can spend like the Dodgers. That may be true. In fact, it is true. But what everyone can do is put revenue back into the team, and many don't do that. Teams not even trying, that's the problem. Okay, two parts. That can be true. What can also be true is, why would I dump X amount of money back into my team when I know even if I spend to my very max, it'll be a fraction of what the Dodgers can spend? And then the other thing that's not great for baseball is, to me, Kyle Tucker taking the easy way out to be a Dodger. Now, look, like, whatever, like, get the money, do your thing, you burn for baseball, like, get the money, like, you're good. But I do think that it actually has a negative impact on the sport, and you could tell by some of the groaning and Jeff Passan going on kind of a little media tour, like, hey, like, this is going to push for some real change. Now, maybe that's the argument. Maybe this is good for baseball because it forces change. But, you don't want almost the entire league feeling like, okay, we're not going to be able to compete. And the other part of it is, it's like, if the sport is for fans and fans feel like this is not great for it, who are you to say, no, it's good for it? It's like, no, okay, it's not good for it. But also, like, there can be other things that also aren't good for it. And I like this take from rational Yankees fans. And I guess the thing that's happening right now is that, like, Yankee fans and Mets fans, kind of Mets fans, Phillies fans are, like, being loud about it. And, like, Dodgers fans are like, well, we don't want to hear that. And it's like, well, Yankee fans are being loud about it, and even though they purchased several super teams, but Yankees fans are just the loudest fan base sometimes. There are also, like, large factions of, like, Guardians fans being loud about this, but I think they're finally watching, like, see, look, Yankees, it's not fun anymore. See, look, Phillies, it's not fun anymore. See how we feel every single offseason, but, like, a little bit worse. But this from Rational Yankees fans, I thought was a great write-up on this whole thing. I do think teams using outside capitals from non-baseball businesses to run payrolls exponentially higher than some of their peers is bad for baseball. I'm not going to say the Dodgers themselves are bad for baseball because they're just building the best team they can within the rules. Bingo. And I don't think anybody's No one's blaming the Dodgers. I think they're blaming the rules, and I think that's where Ben Verlander's kind of lost in this. But it's a very recent trend. It is. We're seeing it in college football too, and it's creating like a weird impasse. But it's a very recent trend for the ultra wealthy owners to utilize assets from outside sources to run outsized payrolls. Before the Mets and the Dodgers started doing that, competitive balance was a hot topic issue, but every team had a limit because it was revenue from within their own team, not outside money being dumped in. Now it feels like two teams don't have a limit and everyone else does. And it's not because their baseball revenues exploded. It's because the owner happens to be independently wealthier than all other owners, and they're not worried about ROI the same way other teams are, which is my own line that I added in there. I don't think a hard salary cap is feasible in the next CBA negotiations, but I do think forcing teams to run payrolls reflective of their actual baseball generated revenue would be a good start to helping competitive balance. Otherwise, things are just going to get worse. That's an excellent write-up, and that requires nuance to kind of accept and soak in. And Ben Verlander, I think, is trying to rage bait non-Dodger fans, to say the least. Okay, something I'm really excited about. Just kind of, I'm a prospect guy. I'm from Northeast Ohio, and Travis Bazzana, number 1 pick in 2024, and the number 1 second base prospect in 2026. Will likely debut this year for the Guardians. Obviously, like that, they took him number 1 overall in a draft with Nick Kurtz, with Caglione, with Burns, with a lot of guys. And obviously, like we saw Nick Kurtz go absolutely stupid. Condon was in that draft as well. A lot of people they drafted, I believe they drafted Bazzana to be under that draft slot margin. But I am excited to see him. I did talk to a couple people, that are tied to the Guardians. And one of the things that they talked about was like, look, they're going to work to get him on the field, and that could be at second base. That could be the outfield. They like his athletic profile. He's shown a little bit more pop. He's a little bit decently injury prone, but I do think he would be a nice addition. It would be nice to see him play really well and pop off, and to kind of have a young potential star to join a team, with Jose Ramirez, who's been like the established third base star for so long. They do have Angel Martinez over there. So they have Quan over there, obviously, and he was in trade talks a year ago. But I am excited about Bazzana, and he's got like big, I guess, shoes to fill into. In terms of not big shoes to fill into, high expectations. Now, look, he's not going to be as good as Kurtz, but it would be nice to see him put together a good season from a stocky, well-built, a little bit older second baseman that a draft class that feels really loaded. Mizorowski, I think, was in that draft class too, and so now it's his turn. So I am just generally really excited about him. Yankee World had this to say. This was awesome. So Jeff put this up. Bo Bichette's career stats per game versus Phillies third baseman Alec Bohm. Bo Bichette has better numbers, but it's not drastic enough to justify the massive difference in pay. It's crazy, and I thought this was all. I wanted to include it because I thought this was good enough for the mention. The greatest narrative ball I have ever seen. Reducing stats to a per-game basis makes the numbers so small that they look comparable. A true all-timer. Incredible. Because even they do look small, but this is still huge. Also, I didn't realize that Bichette stole more bases. Crazy. Obviously, Bellinger's still available on the market, and this might be something, might be nothing. Someone posted a picture. Of the comment section on a recent Bellinger post, and it was. I get to the comment. A big reveal from the comment section here. Big reveal from the comment section, and it's Austin Wells under the belly post with the sad face. People are reading into it. Internet's reading into it. I'm not reading into it. I think that he does end up a Yankee, but it does feel a lot more like Bregman with every passing day. So take that for what it's worth. And then I will never turn down seeing this video. I love this video, and I'll start it over. This is A's star.
Jacob to Jack.
Jacob Wilson.
He was Jakey back then.
Really cool. Every time I see this, it makes me smile. I don't like it. I don't like it. And then his dad to him in the big leagues. Really cool stuff. As always, hey guys, I appreciate all the support we've been getting. Make sure you like and sub while you're here. We are going to record with all the boys here pretty soon. Me, Sam, and Ryan for a Fireside Baseball episode. But until then, we'll keep dropping these notebooks, and I'll talk to you guys when I talk to you guys.